Good afternoon, good evening to all you listeners out there, to all of you future millionaires tuning in to the show today. We have a guy with us today, an entrepreneur, a soldier, a speaker. We have Mr. Andy Weins here to speak with us today. A little bit about him: consultant, teacher. He does podcasting and writing. He is an enthusiastic supporter of veterans, entrepreneurs, community engagement, individual empowerment, and the environment. And we're just going to jump into this conversation because this guy has a lot to talk about. How you doing today, Andy?
Good. Pleasure to be on here. Appreciate your time.
Hey, man, I appreciate you being on the show. As I was just telling you, I was listening to your podcast.
Yep.
And you're an entrepreneur, pretty stout business. Can you take us back, man, to when you figured out that working wasn't for you?
Working's for me. Work, my friend. That's my favorite four-letter word. I like work. Life is work. Relationships are work. Perfecting your craft is work, right? That old adage, like, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. No, work is a beautiful thing. I think we ought to celebrate work. I'm a parent. Let me tell you something. That's work.
That's
right.
Work.
Now, I ain't got a job. I am a fourth-generation unemployable individual. My father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, both my brothers, we're unemployable males in our family, right? And we also know it takes a lot of work to not have a job, not have the safety, security. And I went through all my life knowing that I was going to be an entrepreneur. I remember going around with my dad when I was 5, 6 years old. We used to drive around the nice neighborhoods the day before trash day, going through the trash, seeing what was around. And everything from, I got my bikes, G.I. Joes, Ninja Turtles, skateboards, you name it, I got it. And then later, still when I was an adolescent, right, I was intrigued by picking up electronics and appliances and faucets and lock sets, things I could take apart, and then going to the scrapyard on Saturday mornings, collecting my bounty. That was my place, right? The smell and the sounds of men working, right? That smell of nasty stale beer getting crushed in the aluminum can crusher, like, that was my sanctuary. So I knew that all growing up. And I did everything except become an entrepreneur. I worked for other people in high school. I joined the military after high school. I deployed to Iraq. I come back home. I worked for corporate America. I got a bachelor's degree in business. I deployed again. I did all that, right, from 13, 14, all the way to 30. And I realized right before my last deployment, I'm like, when I come back home, I never want to have a job again. I never want to have to go to a place where people tell me what to wear, how to act, what to say, what not to say. And so for the last 8 years, I've been very fortunate that I've been able to stay as an entrepreneur, a business owner, and remain unemployed. It was not, right, like we know with the journey, it's not a very straight line. I had to go through all these trials and tribulations before I landed where I'm at today.
Got it. And where you're at today, there are a few businesses that you run, not just one, but a few. Am I correct?
Yeah, the main business I'm involved in is Camel Crew junk removal. That's what feeds the beast, right? So Camel Crew is residential commercial junk removal, do about $2 million top line revenue. We got 22 employees, about 12 trucks, 10, 12 trucks. And we go out, we service residential commercial customers, clearing out buildings and businesses and houses and things of that nature. And then I also have the podcast. I have 2 different podcasts. One is in junk removal. The other one is the empowerment through language. And so I wrote a book, and I have that podcast, and I do keynote speaking and consulting. I'm writing 2 more books now. So it's about taking these life lessons, right, this redneck logic, and applying it to everyday life.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. I was going to get into your book. And I'm gonna hold up on that.
Okay.
But I'm really interested in the book. But from the book, or like you say, you are applying these lessons, and you can kind of teach the grit. And it's things that you can't learn in school. It's just like you say, when you was riding with your father, it's just things that you picked up on. Yep. Right. And especially this generation now. Number one, there's not a lot of people to teach them that, you can't just make a living by whatever it was that you was doing as a youngster before everything else came into play. You can still make a living, you know, like you say, it could be anything from picking up junk, you know, sweeping, mopping, you know, whatever it is that you enjoyed. Hell, grasshopper wrangling. If you like to catch grasshoppers, you know, you can just take it and do what you want to do. And there's a place for you, you know, basically.
Yeah, but I was teaching at a college earlier this year, and right in the middle of it, about doing a 45-minute Q&A, I stopped and I go, all right, this is what entrepreneurship is. I had this epiphany right in front of the audience, 100 students, somewhere on students. And I said, entrepreneurship is figuring out what you're willing to do for free that someone else is willing to pay you for.
Yeah.
That's the intersection, right? That's the definition for me, because growing up as a kid, I was willing to drive around, pick up appliances on the side of the road. To this day, I'm 40 years old. I got a multi-million-dollar operation, $1 million business, I drive by. Hell, I went to the cleaner today, picked up my dry cleaning, drove past the dumpster, and the first thing I want to do is stick my head in the dumpster to see what I could find. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Ain't nobody paid me. Ain't nobody asked me to do it. And yet I'm like, I intrinsically want to see what's up inside that dumpster because there might be something of value, right? Yeah. That's my motivation.
Right.
So that's what it is. What are you willing to do for free? Because when you start as an entrepreneur, if the goal is to make money, you will fail. Because there ain't no money when you're first starting off.
Yeah.
And if the prize is to make money, once you make money, then what? What motivates you when the money ain't enough?
That's right, man. That's right. That's profound. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. I like that word, unemployable.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can spell unemployable simpler than I can spell entrepreneur. Right when I graduated high school in 2002, and the high school I went to the year before was school district of the year, and they measured their success on what percentage of high school graduates went on to four-year universities. So now I look back at it, my second book I'm writing is all about numbers, right? So I'm all about data. Well, if all they cared about was the students that graduated going on to university, well, that means they don't care about the students that don't graduate, and they don't care about the students that join the military, go to tech colleges, or join the workforce. So they catered that entire school district into, let's make everybody eligible to go to a four-year university. Now, I sat there with my guidance counselor. My mom will tell this story like it was yesterday. I sat there with my mother and my guidance counselor. I'm 15 years old, and we're talking about what class I'm going to take as a junior and senior. And I'm sitting there sophomore year. I'm like, I got to take 2 years of science, 2 years of social studies, 2 years of math. He's like, oh, no, you got to take 4 years if you want to go to college. I said, I don't want to go to college. And my mom sat right there. Now, my sister was a straight A, 4.0. She picked out what college she was going to go to when she was in the 7th grade. My mom goes, he ain't going to college. They're like, well, if he ain't going to college, then why are we sitting here? It's like, well, he still needs guidance.
Right.
He still needs a high school education. He still needs a foundation of learning. And in that moment, it was very clear to me and my mother and my guidance counselor that I fit out. I did not fit into their system. And so you brought up about education, right? And one thing I realize now as I do more and more consulting and coaching, I realize how much I picked up on growing up. I went with my dad when he was a remodeler. I went with him to people's houses, and I would sit there, watch him at a kitchen table, negotiate with them on redoing their bathroom, right? So I learned those skills. Like, my dad never come home at 5 o'clock every night and was like, oh, I was at the office today and carried a briefcase and had a fucking nice shirt. You know, that wasn't how we grew up, right? Mark Twain, one of my favorite quotes of all time, Mark Twain says, I've never let schooling interfere with my education.
Right.
And that's the issue. The issue is we live in a society wherein it's like, nope, we're going to train you how to be disciplined, functional workers, and students no longer learn how to learn. They learn how to be compliant. And so unemployable to me, right? When my senior year of high school, I took the class entrepreneurship. I don't know what entrepreneurship meant. I knew I took small business ownership, and I thought that was a pretty cool class. And the next class was entrepreneurship. So I'm like, oh, I'll take that. I didn't know what it meant to be an entrepreneur. And so it only now, 20 years plus later, I can say, okay, I know what it means to be an entrepreneur. What I've known all along is I didn't fit in with this traditional model of go to college, get the job, corporate ladder, get the title, get the business card. None of that interests me. And for some folks, that's their end all be all. Yeah. It ain't for me.
Yeah. I get it, man. That's a lot. Maybe it's maybe it's Generation X, because what you're describing is exactly how I was raised and exactly how I felt.
Yep.
It finally just hit me one day, like, nah, this ain't me, man. That's really the basis of this show and why I call it Millionaire by Morning. Because when I figured it out, like, I knew guys, like you say, that just had a landscaping business when I was younger who was making tons of money. But then you start getting into, well, this is the correct way to do it. You go to school, you get the degree. You wait until you're 65 years old, then you might have $1 million and you can travel then and you can be on vacation then. I'm like, no, I know dudes that had a whole lot of money at 25, 30 just because they wasn't even going to school, or they just decided that they was going to start roofing and had a roofing company or something. So yeah, man, I totally get what you're saying. So these exact things, this is what you go to speak on? You find speaking engagements?
Yeah, so I really, my speaking engagement I primarily focus on is about all around my book. So I do a keynote, The Language of Leadership, and I wrote a book. I'll just get right to it, right? Words fucking matter, right? That's it, right? We ain't fucking dancing no more, right? This is simple, right? And my second book is called Numbers Fucking Matter. The third book is Phrases Fucking Matter. I like to simplify life, right? Life's awfully complicated. Let's simplify it. So in this book, it's a simple book. And what I realized writing this book, I started writing a book called Hustle, Struggle, Grind, The 13 Lessons of Life. And I was writing with this ghostwriter. And after 90 days of us getting together for an hour or two a week, she sat there with the outline. And she goes, we got nothing here. There's nothing about these lessons that bind each other. They're good lessons. So what? And we're sitting there and we're talking about thought leadership. And she said, one thing about you that's interesting is you're very particular about words. I go, yeah, because they fucking matter. And she goes, that's your thought leadership. Let's lean in on that. And then I leaned into that very hard. What I've realized now with my keynotes doing the language of leadership, I've realized a few things since my books come out. When I listen to the people I look up to, Les Brown is my favorite. He's the Mount Rushmore. He's the first one on, right? Les Brown, Mark Cuban, Elon Musk. Right, the people that I look up to in the world of inspiration and motivation, and Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson, the list goes on. Anyways, they only use certain language. They use empowering language. So in my book, I talk about shit words that do not serve. So let's get rid of those, right? They also are very future focused. They're very curious people. They ask a lot of questions of themselves and the people around them so that they can clearly see this path forward. So now when I speak, I sit and talk to students and everything of the like, students and business professionals. I'm speaking, I'm leaving tomorrow, 2 days from now. I'm going down to Montgomery or Mobile, Alabama. I'm speaking to 50 professionals under 40, and we're doing the 4-hour workshop, and it's all about tweaking simple words. I'm not telling you to rewrite the paragraph. I'm telling you to change that one word that does not serve you. I'm telling you to change this victim statement into a victor statement. I'm asking you to shift your mindset one word at a time. I equate it to algebra in high school. Let's go back to high school, right? Algebra, you have this big equation, right? Bunch of stuff here, numbers, symbols, parentheses, right? And then you got an equal symbol, and then you got some other stuff going on over here, right? And you got to go line by line, show your work, what you do, and at the end, you get this one answer, X equals whatever. This is what happens. When the answer is wrong, often you did something wrong along the way. One thing, one number, one subtraction before an addition, or a division before multiplication, or parentheses, whatever, exponents, all that stuff, right? It's not that the whole thing is wrong. It's that one thing is wrong. And when you catch yourself like, oh, I needed to multiply this before I divided that. Cool. You fix that, and guess what? The answer changes entirely. And that's no different than the stories we tell ourselves.
Right.
When we start a story talking about how we are the victim of our circumstance, and I did that for years. You asked, when was that pivotal moment in my life when I became an entrepreneur? December 23rd, 2008 was that moment. I got laid off 2 days before Christmas from my father's company. And for years, I talked about that as a woe is me, victim. My father doesn't know how to run a company. Well, let me tell you something now. 16 years later, right? My father still owns that company. He did what was necessary to run that company. I wasn't a very good carpenter, right? I was not very employable at $15 an hour as a carpenter, right? And we were in the middle of a recession. And moreover, at 24 years old, it put me in a position to man up.
Yeah.
It put me in a position where now, okay, I ain't under daddy's wing no more, right? Because I was 24. Up until that point, I'd worked a couple of jobs, UPS, Best Buy, Black & Decker. I'd gone to war. I'd been homeless for a year, and I finally settled down. I never really had a career or a craft. It wasn't but another 5 or 6 years later before I had a craft, right? So now I'm the victor, because what that taught me was in 2009, January 2009, I started driving around the northwest side of Milwaukee picking up appliances on the side of the road. 15 years later, here I sit with the Junk Removal Empire, the number one junk removal podcast in the country. Why? Because my father gave me the opportunity to succeed on my own. Right? I'm 40 years old. If I sat here I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't even be here. I wouldn't be here today if I said, woe is me. I got laid off. My father fucked up. He doesn't know how to run a company. I tell you what, my dad still doesn't own a computer, doesn't have an email address, barely text messages, and he's been in business 34 years. He's 68 years old. He's still in business because he found a system that worked for him. Mm-hmm. He ain't a victim. I'm not a victim either. And so when I train individuals on the language of leadership, we tweaked 1 or 2 words and we changed the entire narrative. It's all about becoming the victor of your story, not a victim of your circumstance.
Let me ask you this, Andy. You're telling your story.
Yeah.
Within your training with the military or anything,
yep.
Do you have any special training as far as that's concerned, or certificates, or did you do anything to help you out with now you can really kind of, just, I guess I'm asking, are you certified or anything? Or
I am. I was voluntold in the Army to go to a school, right? So I had been in the Army. I joined in 2004, and this is 2014. I've been to Iraq, been to war, done the thing. I come back home. I was chilling, doing my thing. And I got called up again, and we were going to Gitmo for Guantanamo Bay, Cuba for a year. And I went to non-lethal weapons school. I went to a couple other schools, high-speed schools, right? My goal was to be Billy Badass, where I'm gonna be this aggressive, strong, non-commissioned officer that fucking pushes troops. After Gitmo, I was slotted to go to drill sergeant school. Like that's my path, right? And then I got voluntold to go to massive resiliency training, which was learning about how to be warm and fuzzy with soldiers so we know how to communicate better with soldiers. And I got to this class, and I'm like, it's stupid. I'm gonna pass the stupid test. I'm gonna get the little fucking certificate. I'm gonna go my ass home. 30 minutes. It's an 80-hour course, 2 weeks. 30 minutes into this 80-hour course. And I'm like, wow, well, that just changed my entire life. One of the opening lines was, it's a sign of strength to ask for help, not a sign of weakness.
Right.
Right? Since then, I've trained over 500 soldiers in resiliency. I've owned and adapted resiliency in my life. I talk about resiliency and going through that course in my book. That was the moment, 30 years old, right? There's a few moments in my life when I read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That was a moment, right? That was the okay. I remember doing a presentation on it. We all had to do a book report. This was I went to Milwaukee Area Technical College, tech school. We don't have, like a community college, right? Anyways, well, we had to do a report, like a 3 to 5 minute or 5 to 7 minute, whatever it was, report to show you read the book. Man, mine went on for like 12, 15 minutes. I was so passionate about that book. Everything I learned, I stood there at the pulpit of righteousness, talk about how different my life was going to be, right? That was that moment. That moment when I went to master resiliency training. The moment when I got laid off from my father's company, right? Those are the defining moments of my life I did not get to choose that allowed me to be here today.
Right.
Right. And so the certificate, I don't give a shit about the cert. I don't even know where the certificate is. It's in a box in my garage somewhere, right? The Army gave me the opportunity to see different.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned. That's what I carry forward. This opportunity. Hold on, Andy. You're responsible for your thoughts, right? The ATC model, activate an event, thoughts, and your consequences. I learned this. All grown up as a kid, my mom always told me, consequences and repercussions. Keep your hands to yourself. Self-control. all this, right? And I don't want to be self-control. I'm awesome. Why would I want to limit how awesome I am, right?
Yeah.
But then I learned about, well, hold on. Activated event. Shit happens near you. Gotcha. Right? You react or respond. No choice. You have no choice over your emotions and reactions. I learned that. However, I have a choice over my thought. I have a choice over, okay, how do I think about that? Right? Someone wronged me? Do I turn the other cheek?
Yeah.
Do I punch back? Do I walk away? Because you know what? Not my monkey, not my circus. That thought I can control. And then my emotions, my reactions will coincide with that thought. And I read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It says, essentially, you sow a thought which reached your destiny, right? It's thought, action, action, behavior, behavior, habit, habit, destiny, right? Well, those thoughts are governed in words. So I want to go one step above that, right? I don't want to change my entire thought process.
Right.
However, I'm willing to change one word that transforms me from a person of scarcity to a person of abundance, from a person of hate to a person of love, to a person from insecurity to security. And once I transform that language, the story I tell myself becomes much more optimistic and positive, future focused. And so when I sit down with leaders, you talk about millionaires by morning, right? It's your choice. What did you do to be that millionaire by morning? What choices did you make? When that alarm went off, what did you tell yourself? 10 more minutes? Or, hey, it's time to take on the day. Right? EOS teaches us the entrepreneurial operating system with traction, teaches us, right, there's only 2 answers to every yes, no question. Hell yes and no. That's it. If it ain't a hell yes, then it's a no. And that's a choice. How you do the little things is how you do everything. I'm quoting somebody. I'll have to look that one up, give you a fucking reference on that one.
That's a good one. I like the reference. I tell my stepson that all the time. How you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah.
All things. Yeah, I totally believe that. The reason I asked you about the training is, and man, you presented it perfectly, because it's things that we go through in life without even knowing it, but end up where we want to end up. It has shaped us.
Mm-hmm.
It was all the time. It was there for a reason.
Yep.
You know, it'll be something that you learn along the way. So I totally appreciate that, what you just gave us there. So let me ask you this, Andy, what is the future looking like? What do you have?
International keynote speaker. I'm gonna share the stage with Jordan Peterson. I'm gonna get on the Joe Rogan podcast. I'm gonna share my message of the power of language with the world. I'm gonna go out every day, and what the currency to my success thus far has been authenticity.
Yeah.
And that's the easiest currency there is, because we can all be it. And yet in this world of social media and filters and bullshit, people are afraid to be authentic.
Right.
Well, I'm reading 10x is easier than 2x right now. And the introduction talks about the story of Michelangelo. And with Michelangelo, they said when they carved David out of a single piece of marble, right? They said, how did you see David? How did you carve out this marble to become David? And his answer was simple. I took away everything that wasn't David to reveal David. And in so my life, it's no different. What are these words that people apply to us that they ought not to be there? We get to decide how we define ourselves. We get to decide whether we're the main character in our own story or a sub-character in somebody else's story. We get those choices. And what we tell ourselves in our heads all day, every day, 70,000 thoughts we have a day, 70,000 words we use for thoughts, I'll say. Those words have power. When you choose to control those words, regulate the words you use, you'll live the life you want to live. And so my future holds me carrying that forward. That's why I said I'm going to be an international speaker, because that's where I'm going. I'm going to shoot for the stars, and if life beats me down in the stratosphere, well, let me tell you something. That's a pretty good view from up there, right? I ain't going to lip in and say, maybe I take that hole, right? Maybe I get that hill. Maybe I get a mountain every now and then, right? It's better to aim high and miss than aim low and hit, right? Another great saying. And so I take these sayings that we say and I apply them to everyday life. What does that mean? And so right now I'm doing stages of 15, 20 people, paid and unpaid, right? The goal is to get in front of 20,000 people someday.
Right.
Okay. Every day I wake up, every day I make choices, right? Every day I got to look at myself and say, okay, in my time of self-reflection, were my choices consistent with that end state? Right now it's, 6:30 at night on a Monday night. We're here putting the work in. We're taking the time. This is my third podcast today. I still got my voice. I still got energy. I still got something to give your audience, and I'm choosing to be here today. I chose to find you. I chose to set this up, right? These are all my choices.
Right.
Right? And you could cancel on me, and you could have no audience and everything go to shit, right? And yet, I made the choices to be successful today. And now we get this moment. And so that's what my life is all about. It's all about making the choices that are going to be consistent with my North Star.
That's right. That's right. I had a guest on my podcast. I know someone else said it, and they referenced it, but the quote was, "There's the two most important words in your life and of your lifetime is the words I am."
Ooh, preach.
And fill in the blank.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I did a whole 15-minute episode on I is the most powerful way to start a sentence, right? Because I know, for me, right, when I'm operating out of a place of fear, I'm like, well, you did this and you did that. And nah. Well, look, no, right? And the thing is with I or I am, you control it. If you start by saying I can't, you sure can't. Right? I won't. Okay, you ain't. Right? If you say I ain't shit, well, you ain't shit. And ain't nobody going to believe you, right? Now you say I am powerful, right? You think about those affirmations. The affirmations are a big deal with kids right now, and I'm all about them. You look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I'm a warrior, right? I'm a hustler. I'm a grinder. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a father. I'm a soldier, right? I am what I say I am.
Yep.
I'm going to carve this piece of marble into the statue that is me. And if people want to come by and throw paint on my statue, I'll scrub it off. If you want to try to chip away at my statue, that ain't your statue to chip away at.
Right.
It's our choice. But what do? We let people tell us where we can carve in our own marble. We let people throw paint on our statue. We let people not even let us work on our statue because we're working on their. No. Right? Working on yourself is the most selfish and most important thing you can do. And I know for me, the more I do for myself, the better I show up as a father and as an entrepreneur and as a partner and as a soldier. All those aspirations of I am these things, right? But first and foremost, I am human. I'm coachable. It took me years to say I was coachable. I said for years I was unmanageable, uncoachable, unemployable. The fact of the matter is I am unemployable. I am unmanageable. I am very coachable.
Right.
I no longer want to do things the hard way when there's a better way that someone else has already done. I love the things that are complicated and figuring them out. I also love this, having someone else figure it out and tell me the answer to the test. Right? So when I said for years I was uncoachable, I was.
Right.
Now I am very coachable. And the more coachable I am, the more I can coach others. Because I can see the vulnerabilities and the walls and all these other aspirations or all these other issues that come up with being uncoachable. So one of my favorite two-word transition words, Chris Kalenda for the Strategic Leadership Academy, his favorite two words are so that. Because so that gets you from where you are to where you're going to be, right? I am coachable so that I can learn more in this lifetime. Okay, that sounds like a pretty good statement. I want to rally behind that. Because when I say I'm uncoachable, there ain't no so that.
Right. It stops there.
That's it. That's the end of the statement. I am uncoachable so that I wither up and die. Well, I don't want to. No, I don't. Right? That ain't what I want.
Right. So that. Yeah. So that's the transition statement.
Yeah. So one of the lessons I teach, I take Boaz, the speaker I saw. He started with I used to, right? Mm-hmm. I used to XYZ. So what I've done, and I do this in my book, right? I used to. We're gonna state a limiting self-belief, whatever it is. right? Everyone's got a limiting self-belief within them. I used to this. Let's acknowledge it. Let's say it exists. We ain't sweeping this under the rug. We are acknowledging that you got a moment of struggle, right?
Mm-hmm.
I used to limiting self-belief. And now rephrasing that statement in a powerful, positive, future-focused way, right? So that end state you want to live. And every time you have that moment of doubt, you say, you're right. I used to think that way. I used to feel that way. I used to hit the snooze button. And now, this is what I do. So that my goals, and when I do this exercise, I'll do this exercise this week. I got 50 students coming up on Thursday. I'm going to get 50 different answers.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them 7 words. I used to, and now, so that. I'm going to give them the same 7 words. And we're going to have 50 different results individually catered so that these individuals go from a place of powerless to powerful. They go from victims to victors. They go from followers to leaders. I'm giving them 7 words to work.
7 words to work with. That's those 7 words can be life-changing. It's so many people don't know that. You know, that's all it takes is just the mindset work. Just the mindset work.
Yeah. The body will follow where the mind tells it to go. Right? And you got to take care of the mind, the body, and the soul. We know that. We say shit like that.
Right.
People go to the gym and they press, they work out, right? Maybe they go to a little bit of church, right? Good for the soul. What you doing to work on your mind? That's the most powerful muscle in your body. And when that's right, I can tell you, coming from a place of having PTSD, I suffered from PTSD for years, right? I suffered from ADHD and lack of concentration, right? No, I got those things. I don't suffer anymore. I look at them as my strength, right? Mm-hmm. When I did suffer, it's because my mind was out of sorts. And when my mind was out of sorts, my body didn't go where it needed to. And my soul was dying because it did not get the nourishment it needed.
Right.
And for me, once I got my mind right, the body and the soul followed. My soul felt gratitude because it looked for gratitude because the brain programmed it to look for gratitude. Mm-hmm. The brain told it to go to some places. I go to my sanctuary every Sunday. I'm at the beach. You can find me at the beach every Sunday. That fills my soul. I got my community right there. We play a little volleyball. We tell some jokes. We listen to the waves crash, and I feel fulfilled. Praise Jesus. I'm in a good place, right? That's what fills my soul. And I know when I don't go to the beach, I'm not right with myself.
Yeah.
When I was dark and deep and depressed in all these terrible places in my life, right? My brain couldn't convince my body to go to the beach. Didn't convince my body to spend time working on myself. Didn't convince my body to spend time with my family and friends. Right? And so we got to get our minds right.
Damn, that was good, Andy. That was good, man. I don't get into all of the business deep down into it because with the mindset stuff, what you're giving us right now is for my show is actionable steps. You know, I mean, whether you know you are or not, these are actionable steps someone can just listen to the show before buying the book. Anyone that's listening, please go out there and pick this book up. I know it has plenty of amazing gems in it. But even if they don't, you've given gems already out of the book, right?
Well, and that's why my goal in life is to impact people, right? One of the bits I did years ago, I did this keynote speaking. I wrote a chapter on this in a book that never got made. Is you ain't got to be a teacher to teach, a preacher to preach, or a leader to lead. If they're learning, you're teaching. If they're following, you're leading. Or no, they're following. If they're praying, you're preaching. If they're following, you're leading. Right? Because I don't like titles. And what it comes down to is, man, every place can be your altar. Every place can be your pulpit. It's your choice what you put out to this world. Mm-hmm. And same thing here. It's like you buy my book, you don't buy my book. My bigger goal is that I make an impact on your life today. Right? My why in this world is to change the world one word at a time. So you buy my book and I made my $10 on Amazon, or you don't. My job is to impact the world, right? I'm a firm believer. I take care of people. People will take care of me, right? I'm a for-profit entrepreneur, capitalistic, mindset individual. And I also know that in our business, when we take care of our employees take care of our customers, and our customers take care of the business, and the business take care of me. And it's no different than now. I know by me taking the time with you, taking care of your audience, right? Your audience and all the audience I get the opportunity to be in front of will eventually take care of me. Am I going to be on Joe Rogan next week? Probably not. The math ain't great on that, right? However, I know this is one more stepping stone. I know this is one more opportunity, right? It's that old adage. It took 10 years to be an overnight success.
Yeah.
Right? So, okay, 10 years. You know what? And my book came out a year ago. So in 9 years from now, I'm still hustling like this. Okay, that's what it takes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what it means to be an entrepreneur. Right. Entrepreneurs, right? Hustle, struggle, grind. That's a book I started writing. Entrepreneurs got to know that. You got to endure the hustle. You got to say, I got this. I'm going to get up that mountaintop. That last 10%. Sometimes you can't even see the feet in front of you. The clouds are thick. The snow is thick, and you can't even see in front of you, right? That's the struggle. Embrace the struggle. But I can tell you, once you get on the other side of that mountaintop, you're going to enjoy that grind. You're going to enjoy what you figured out. In the military, we our battle cry, the ultimate battle cry of the military, right? People think, oh, be all you can be, or Army strong. No. The one battle cry that every soldier knows is embrace the suck. Embrace the suck, because it's going to suck. And as soon as you accept the fact that it's going to suck, now you own it. Doesn't matter how much it sucks, you're going to be the victor of the suckitude. Life sucks sometimes. Good. I'm glad we had this conversation. Now, how do we move forward? Because some people get stuck in the suck.
Yeah.
Some people get stuck when the roller coaster's down. It's like, well, it's your choice to get it back going. What are you going to do about it? I got people call me all the time. They're like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. I go, what are you going to do about it? I don't know. Well, what are your options? Right? The answer lies within us. I've been coaching this woman lately, and I realized this with her. I had this epiphany a couple days ago. It was that the answers are within. The key is to obtain information that you can compare to the things you know about yourself, or find people to ask you questions to unearth things you do not know about yourself. The answer's within.
Right.
That's what you need to figure out.
That's the importance of a coach. That's the importance of having a coach. Someone that can.
Man, again, 5 years ago, I was uncoachable. I've declared it. Man, I planted a flag. I planted a flag on the highest mountain you could find. Everybody knew, Andy, uncoachable, right? Partner got a tattoo of it. And then I had a mentor. And I listened to him every now and then. He's the first man I ever sat down with for a one-on-one. I never even know what a one-on-one was. I was like, we just supposed to go sit at a Panera and get coffee and get to know each other for an hour? Like, that seems like a complete waste of my time. I got shit to do today. Anyhow, I sat down. His name's Mervyn Bird. Good dude, Marine. We always got along well. 4 years ago, about 4.5 years ago, he calls me. He's like, hey, I'm putting together this group. And I was like, networking group, whatever, I'll show up. Of course, I don't show up to the first one. All right. And then he's like, I'm going to be a business coach. I was like, no, I don't need that. I'm good. He's like, nah, show up. So I showed up. And he had already invested in me for years. He had already taken me under his wing. Marine, soldier, we got along. We had a natural fit there. And along the way, I realized, wow, maybe I do need a coach. Maybe it's okay, Andy. I don't have to be the Billy Badass. That same Billy Badass before I deployed that thought I had to go hard all day and figure it out. No, I had to be Billy Badass no more. I can lean in on this group of individuals. I have a CEO roundtable now and a business coach. And I would not be where I'm at today without that group and without my coach. Because the group gives me information I had not considered. The coach and the group ask me questions that I've never analyzed.
Right.
Every answer, when we sit down for coaching session, every answer is within. It's within me. It's within my business. And when I don't have the answer now, I ought to sit on the end of my bed and think about it real hard. Because I don't know is not acceptable.
Right.
Because when I don't have that answer, guess what? I'm going to be an entrepreneur that day. Right? Entrepreneurs don't have the luxury of a day off. We don't take a play off, a day off. Right? We don't mail it in. We schedule our vacations. We schedule the time that we're going to go see the world. Absolutely. That's a scheduled time. Right? We don't have the luxury of taking a day off, but that's a different mindset. Yeah. We got to be sharp every day. We from day one are the ceiling to the organization, which means we have to continually improve ourselves, improve our fighting position, break through those ceilings so that we can take our organization to that next level.
Yeah. Yep.
And it takes information and great questions from trusted individuals to get us there.
It's funny you say that because every vacation I go on, my wife she tells me, "You're not bringing that computer."
You know what? She a smart woman, because I know for me, when I don't bring my laptop with me, I have a little panicky workout. But it's like, no, it's vacation for a reason. You got to decompress. You got to check out.
Yeah,
you got to
make yourself
right. You check into your relationship with your spouse. Check into yourself. Right, whatever that looks like.
Right. You have to. I mean, even if you have to force yourself to do that, which normally happens. But yeah, you are
100%.
completely correct. Someone told me something. I set a goal to do 100 podcasts, like from the first of the year, and I think I'm complete with that. So now I just went and got a podcast coach. I'm doing this podcast 6 weeks thing. And here's something that he said that I see where you're going with your podcast, and I just want to relay it to you. Same message. It's just the freshmen and the seniors. Right now, the Joe Rogans, they are the seniors in the podcasting space.
Yeah.
Andy, your podcast, Rashad, my podcast, we just freshmen. That's
absolutely.
We're just freshmen right now. We're headed in that direction. So I like when you say where your future is headed, because, we just have to grow and go through the classes to become the head, the senior class.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, man, I want to commend you on everything that you're doing. If anyone wants to find you and find your book, where would they look for you, your social medias and stuff?
Yeah, you can find me andyweins.com, ANDY Weins, WEINS.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Trash Talk Business Podcast.com, YouTube, Andy Weins. I mean, I'm not difficult to find. As far as the book, you can pick it up. Words Fucking Matter. Retrain your brain to use language that serves you. Pick it up on Amazon. That's the simplest way of doing it. I love talking about the book. I love empowering others. So pick up the book, and I love it when people shoot me messages, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever, say, hey, I read this. I want to have a conversation. I want to dig a little bit deeper. That's my sign of success, is that I'm having an impact on people's worlds with the words they read from, came from my hand. That's interesting to me.
That is what's up. So Andy, I have a speaker platform. If you ever want to come down to Dallas, I can hook you up the location, basically be the event, set the whole event up. So you want to get back and talk about that later on? Surely I'm going to follow you on your socials and keep in touch.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
For sure, man. I want to thank you for coming on my show. This was an awesome interview. Anyone that's out there, I know you gained plenty of knowledge from listening to Andy Weins this evening. So much success and everything from here on out, and have a great night. Till next time.